friends. Alright, well, by somewhat popular demand, we're back with a new cocktail video. So today we're making mint juleps because I have some mint and it's a quarantine and it's not going to be good anymore, and obviously one could cook something, or one could make a cocktail. So the first thing that we have to do in order to make our mint julep, according to the recipe, which we actually maybe mostly follow at this point, is we need to crush ice. So to crush ice, what I have found is that if you take a bunch of ice and you wrap it up in a towel, kind of like a burrito, such as this, if you have a towel that is novelty printed with like things that look like cocktails, that's exciting. Now this is going to be a loud and possibly not effective portion of this video, but so we're using our meat tenderizer, our ice is in here, and we're going to hammer it a lot. This is also very, very soothing if you have some anger, some stress, if you're experiencing a global pandemic, if there's racism in your country. None of these things are solved, but it feels good to crush things. Now, many times I have tried to do this in like a plastic bag, or you probably can't hear me because the hammer. Can't do it in a plastic bag. You can't do it in double saran wrap or anything like that, because the ice, as you break it, begins to pierce all of those things. So it's pretty sort of semi-crushed. If you want to take a look at it, it is like somewhat crushed. So that's as crushed as it's going to be because this is at-home cocktail making. So we take our glass. It calls for a silver julep cup, which I do not actually own, or a Collins glass, but I have like a glass, and that's what we're using because it's plastic, and that's the choice that I've made at this time. Once again, I have not brought out all the things that I need. Oh, I have, yes, they're all backstage. Okay, so it informs us that we need to have a teaspoon of sugar and 2 teaspoons of water. It provides that you can use either superfine sugar, which I do not have, or simple syrup, which I do. So we take our simple syrup, we place a spoonful of it, 1 teaspoon here, into our glass, and then we take some water. And the julep, the whole point of the julep is to be cold because it's a summer drink, right? So my simple syrup, it comes out of the fridge. The water also comes out of the fridge, so it's good and cold. So 1, 2 teaspoons. So that's all of that. And then it informs us, I believe, to muddle this in with some mint leaves. How many mint leaves, you might want to know, as might I. 4 sprigs. A sprig. So this here is my sad quarantine mint that really needs to be used. So we're going to save one of the sprigs here because it's going to need to be some garnish. And we'll just kind of take the leaves off of here, drop them in. You know, there's some of them that are like a little old, and it doesn't really matter because you're just going to crush them anyway. You take our friend the muddler and you do some muddling. That takes place off stage also, apparently. So nice and squished, you do them so that they release again like their delicious mint flavors, so that you can also spray yourself with some of the sugar and water, which is, you know, definitely part of the important recipe. Okay, it tells you to do that, and then it says to fill the glass or mug with shaved or crushed ice, and then add bourbon. So we're going to do that. I have a strong technique for adding the ice, which is the slotted spoon technique, which I use because I don't know what else to do. So we're doing that. We're adding lots and lots of ice. We're not using all of our ice because it will tell us to add more ice later, and then we'll be mad and we'll have to pause the video and crush more ice, and that will be annoying for all of you. So fair amount of ice though, lots of ice, pretty full. And then it tells us to add a good amount of bourbon, I will say, an amount that I respect, which is 2.5 ounces. So we got the top of our cocktail shaker, which measures 1.5 2.5, maybe closer to 3. I have a bit of a heavy pour again. Okay, now it looks like we're drinking kind of a giant glass here full of this. So it asks us to do that, and then it says to top it with additional ice, as I warned you. So luckily we have additional ice. Did it ever ask us to stir these things? You know, it doesn't ask us to stir these, but there's an alternate like southern mint julep recipe that does provide for stirring, and so I think we actually will stir because it's kind of fun, and also it mixes everything up, and also so it starts to look like a bit like a snow cone if you're doing this right, I feel. So it gets all tall and sort of shaved icy, and then if you want to give it a quick stir, you take like your tall spoon, or honestly you can really actually, some of your ice will be spilling, but it tells you also in the directions for the one that tells you to stir, it tells you to not hold the glass while stirring, and I don't actually understand how a person can do that, but that's what they recommend. And as you're stirring it, your glass gets all frosty on the side, which makes it like extra julep-y, which is kind of fun. Then you're like, oh no, the crushed ice, there's not enough of it, maybe I'll just use the rest because I can't put it back in the freezer, because when you try to freeze your crushed ice, then it becomes like a giant wad of ice that is no longer crushed. Then you take your last piece of mint that you have thoughtfully reserved and you turn it in as a garnish, and then it's a little droopy because it is a little bit quarantine days. You take your straw, and then, oh, I have an extra mint. Oh, stealth extra garnish. Again, they're a little sad, but stick with us here. And then if you had like a shorter straw, which is what they recommend, but I really only have one length of straw, then you would be burying your nose in the mint whilst drinking it, which is what is most recommended. Still good though. So enjoy your mint julep. Have a happy whatever day you are or are not celebrating on this day, and enjoy.